S Word, featuring Gavin and Master Tesfatsion. And a squad of big-name contributors. The S Word from talkSPORT.
Hello and welcome to the S Word, sponsored by talkSPORT. Just 3 games, meaningful games, let's be honest, left of this 2026 FIFA World Cup. And the top 4 teams in the world will be in the semi-finals. It was edgy last night for both Argentina and England at times, but they overcame the underdogs and are through to set up a titanic clash on Wednesday in Atlanta. So France, Spain, Argentina and England, one of those 4 teams will be crowned world champions in just 7 days' time. I'm Gavin, live here in London. The great Master Tesfatsion is live from Los Angeles, and we've got a great show coming up for you today. Look, you got your France shirt on. Why are you shaking your head for? Let's get positive. 4 best teams. World Cup. This is what dreams are made of. This is what we want. We want the best teams and the best players taking part in the biggest games, and we have got that this Tuesday and Wednesday. Look how miserable he is. This is brilliant. The USA were never going to get to this stage. Come on, get excited.
This was the worst hate watch I've ever seen in my life.
How's the rowing going, buddy? How's the rowing going? That's my question.
The rowing is dead. The boat is sunk. The ship has sailed.
Yeah, they're rowing all the way back across the ocean to home. That's where they're going. Listen, Kevin Hatchard's going to join us, the brilliant European football expert. We're going to have Lars Bohinen with us.
I might hit a wire when I was rowing. I don't know about that. I got to double check.
The great Lars Bohinen will join us. The former Norway midfielder scored against England when they didn't qualify for the '94 World Cup in the USA. Julio Arca will join us, Argentinian defender, and the great Adrian Durham live from Miami to talk about the scenes he saw last night, and particularly the brilliance of Jude Bellingham, all coming up for you here on the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi. I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit tense last night, Master. It was a tough watch.
It was. Boy, was it. Boy, was it tense.
And you know, this is a team that have given us some real moments of joy, but they have brought us through the ringer every single time in this tournament so far. We've gone behind against Congo. We've given up leads against Croatia. We've given up leads, almost against Mexico. Very, very tight and very close. And again last night, we went behind and somehow fought and clawed their way out of the World Cup quarterfinals. Here's how last night sounded on talkSPORT.
After Mexico, England stare wide-eyed at potential glory. But their path towards the Final Four has to withstand the Viking invasion. Another ball through the penalty area is in. It's 1-0 Norway. Shelter up with an absolute stunner. England on the front foot here. Gordon, that's better. Bellingham taking it on. Bellingham, yes, 1-1. England out of nothing, back on level terms before half-time.
Jude Bellingham has saved us again. I mean, there's a lot of work for Thomas Tuchel to do.
Pickford comes out, punches it clear, comes back out for Ashley's back through a crowd, headed onto the bar. Morgan Rogers coming onto it, right footing, good try, spilled by the goalkeeper, and bundled in. England lead, it is Jude Bellingham again. 2 minutes are up, and England are in the semi-finals of the World Cup.
So if you missed the action last night, England threw 2-1 against Norway after extra time. And then in the later kickoff, Argentina make it through past 10-man Switzerland 3-1 after extra time. 2 teams who have a huge amount of talent, who have top-tier stars in their teams, and yet have managed to make these knockout stages look as difficult as humanly possible, to put their teams through the ringer as much as humanly possible. And do you know what, Master? There's so much to break down from these games. There's so much to talk about. And there's so much I can sit here and talk about from an England perspective, how despite being quite lucky yesterday, despite not being the better team for huge swathes of that game, I can still talk about the pride of how hard they fought, how much they scrapped, the mentality of it all. And more than anything, you know, this is just a 4th World Cup semi-final in England's history. Really just a 2nd in my actual lifetime. I was alive for 86, but only just. Never before have I felt watching an England team that even when we've gone behind, even when we've struggled, like I think about going behind to Croatia in the World Cup semi-final then. I think about going behind to Italy or Italy equalising at Wembley in that Euros final. And always my head as a fan would drop. And there's just something about this team, whether it is the brilliance of the stars like Jude Bellingham and like Harry Kane, or whether it is just the fact that they have overcome every task in front of them so far, where I never lost belief last night. Maybe I've just been hanging around with Americans too much. Maybe it's that, but they made us sweat and got the job done in the end.
Hey, listen, I can assure you, Americans are not rooting for England. And those that were, I don't know how delusional they were. Because, well, I'll be honest with you. I showed up an hour before the match started to a pub here in L.A. that has been hosting Norwegians, and it was already packed to the brims. Like, it literally, there was an hour and a half wait outside the pub an hour before the match started. And I was scrambling. I went to 2 or 3 other pubs, eventually found my way to get in, a little finagling here and there to skip the line and make my way to get in. But the interest in this game, due to the simple fact of obviously the interest that England naturally draws here in America, but also the absurd rise in popularity from the casual American viewer of Erling Haaland and this Norwegian side, I would argue about 80% of the people inside the pub were rooting for Norway to win. And in the way they dominated the game, particularly in that second half, it was, you would be hard to be remiss to feel that level of optimism and hope that you did, that England would find a way. But somehow they did. In the muggy, humid heat of Miami, Florida, that challenged everyone's ability to exceed the most treacherous heat and the treacherous temperatures, the difference proved to be Jude Bellingham and his effort, his fitness, his physicality, his knack for just being at the right place at the right time. It proved to be the difference between England going home and England advancing to the semifinals for the first time since 1986. And I can't say enough about this guy. It is almost absurd, Will, that I was on the show having to defend and talk about how foolish it is that English fans were even debating of the fact whether Jude Bellingham should start in this team or not.
I seriously...
It's just absolutely ridiculous, the fact that people truly felt like Jude Bellingham was not deserving to be in the starting 11. You watch it now, and you've seen especially the last 2 performances, what he's done against Mexico and what he's done now against Norway. If England, for whatever reason, and it does happen to go home, that guy's taking the golden ball. Like, he has been the best performer on this team, bar none, without question.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And listen, you get this noise, particularly with England fans. I think with football fans in general, but England are terrible for this. Pre-tournament, overthinking, overhyping certain players, underplaying certain players. But the realisation that what Thomas Tuchel has done with Jude Bellingham and the way that he has brought him into this team and made this team the focus around him and made him the focus of what we do now has been nothing short of sensational to watch his rise, because we've always known he's world class. Yeah, he's in his 4th major international tournament at 22 years old. Like, the kid is so special. One of the best players in the world already, and only with space to move up as well. Only with space to grow on top of that. And listen, if you came into this World Cup, and I understood Morgan Rogers was in fantastic form, and Morgan Gibbs-White maybe should have been in this squad based on what he did this year. And I know a lot of English fans maybe don't watch week in, week out Spanish football, but any pundits who came out and said that he shouldn't be in the squad, he shouldn't be starting, shouldn't be allowed to be on radio or TV anymore, because it was absolute madness at the time. You and I said this at the time. This isn't revisionism. This isn't hindsight 2020. We knew that if this team was going to turn up, it was going to turn up because of Jude Bellingham, because of Harry Kane. And listen, Jude Bellingham's performance last night was just, I think, the crowning moment for this tournament for him, where he has had to put this team on his back more than once already. And when I talked about this earlier, when I think back to the heartbreaking moments for me as an England fan, whether that's going out to the Germans in Euro 96, whether that's the 2 losses to Portugal in the knockout stages, whether that is, the stuff like losing to Iceland, the stuff like, going out, even losing to Croatia in that semi-final 8 years ago. I look back on those games, and what I can cite every single time is whether it was Harry Kane in more recent tournaments, coming into tournaments always with fitness issues, always with concerns, turns, whether it was Wayne Rooney, who you might think he's the most talented player to ever play in an England shirt, but did he turn up in major tournaments in those moments? Absolutely not. Whether it's David Beckham managing to be our captain fantastic and yet get sent off against Argentina. My experience of being an England fan years and years and years is in those big key moments where somebody has got to step up. The person that you're expecting to do it, the man that you're expecting to take the mantle, grab the bull by the horns and win it for you, hasn't done it time and time again. And you could always blame a manager, and you could always blame the quality of the squad, and you could always blame the conditions and everything else. But what we are seeing now is much like we're seeing with Lionel Messi in Argentina, much like we're seeing with Spain to an extent. I mean, France really the only team who look like a total team right now. But the superstars are turning up in the moment where you need them to. And England have two of those. And in Jude Bellingham, have maybe the best in this entire tournament. Him and Michael Olise. If it ends up being a France-England final, essentially whoever wins it, one of those two should get the golden ball, because they have both been absolutely sensational. And it's so relieving as an England fan that when you do find yourself going down, even when we went 2-1 down and that goal was disallowed, your head drops for a moment, but you just believed. You believed that those players would be able to recover this because you had those stars, and they keep turning up and they deserve all the flowers they're getting. I love you, Jude Bellingham. Do you want to know what happened, Master, last night? And I'll be honest with you. We went to the theatre last night before the game. We went to see Hamilton. Fantastic. Leslie Odom Jr. coming back.
You went to watch
do it.
Hamilton before England, Norway.
These tickets were purchased a very long way in advance by my wife. It was sensational.
You did not have the faith. You never thought it was coming home. Neither did your wife.
I mean, my wife didn't understand what the 18-yard box was, I found out yesterday. So not a sporty person, right? So, but we went out for some drinks beforehand, and we had some drinks during the show, and then we got out of the show the moment the curtain went, and got out and got into a bar around the corner from the theatre to watch the game. So I'd had a few before, and I had a few nervous ones during, and I was, well lubricated. When Jed Spence made that run into the box at 2-1, drew that penalty, and initially it was given, and there was that phenomenal shot of Jude Bellingham and Jed Spence in each other's face, screaming to each other, just that moment and burst of elation. I turned to my friends and went, if we win the World Cup, I'm getting that tattooed on my back.
Well, thank God VAR turned that around.
Honestly, I've never regretted saying something more instantly in my life. When VAR overturned it, I wanted the penalty, but I was kind of like, I can get away with saying it doesn't count because of VAR. Like, VAR saved me from getting a
I don't even know how a tattoo guy would be able to get Jed Spence's protective face wear properly for you. That doesn't look like it's just an absolute mess to try and draw. But going back to your point about Jude, the other argument with Jude was, even if he did start, people were wondering if he should be a box-to-box midfielder, if he should play the 6, he should play the 8. Once again, Jude proving the fact that he is best served as a 10 on this side, because as he did in Euros and as he's done here as well, you want him to be in the box, and you want him to have the freedom and the space to make those runs in where, God forbid, unfortunately, Nyland, who had a great game, let's be honest, had a really, really strong game, had one, unfortunately, that spilt out of his control. But Jude Bellingham, as we've seen time and time again, when either he has put on the three-line shirt or when he's been at Real Madrid, his inability, his ability, his knack, his sense for goal, which we talked about yesterday when we were talking about Mikel Merino's, and somehow his capabilities of just being able to find and be at the right place at the right time. I mentioned it was kind of like a mini Jude Bellingham, how he was able to score that game-winning goal and how he's come through for Spain. And lo and behold, Jude Bellingham would do literally the exact same situation, the same exact scenario, would find a way to make that run, be on sides, and never give up on the play. At a time in which we saw on the flip side, the difference maker, the game changer for Norway was Erling Haaland. And in the final 30 minutes before he got subbed off, it was clear either he was nursing some sort of injury or just wasn't fit or was exhausted, because for those final 30 minutes in which he was on the pitch, he was walking around and was absolutely ineffective, to the point where he did have to get subbed off. He should have come off the pitch, and rightfully so he did. But after that point, Norway just lost a little bit of the bites and the fear that you see from Norway. And unfortunately for Norway, as well as they played a tremendous run for them to make it to the quarterfinals, to push England all the way through extra time, and truly for much of this game dominated and with their terms and dictate the style of play of this game. They're just missing a player or two, it feels like, unfortunately. And that proved to be the difference. Is with all due respect to Martin Odegaard, with all due respect to Erling Haaland, the level of quality and the depth that England has just proved to be a bit too much for them.
See, and actually, like, a lot of that is you consider the conditions and everything as well as part of that. And there's no excuse making for the England performance, but you talked about their dominance. Like, what you saw was first half an hour or so, England were very comfortable. A lot of the ball, weren't really creating chances, but it was they were heavy on possession. They were creating the few chances there were. After that first hydration break, Norway really came into the game. Obviously, that's when they went and scored the opening goal. It was after half-time, and my concern coming out of this game from an England perspective, and I mostly want to be positive here, like, we are in a World Cup semi-final. These only come along a few times in your lifetime. We have a legitimate chance of going and winning this tournament. Like, that is something we should be, as an England fan, celebrating. But Tuchel made those changes at half-time. It's clear that there were some players who weren't healthy. Noni Madueke had a shocker in the first half. Rice comes off. He makes the change to go a little bit more attacking to try and put some pressure on Norway. And after an initial chance, there was a 25-minute span where Norway were completely in the ascendancy, where they had the majority of the possession, where we were having to defend deep, where we were having to... It looked like the last 20 minutes of the Mexico game. And you're like, how are we not, like, pressing out more? How are we not getting in their face? Their press was sensational the whole game. They were just closing us down all over the field. I thought Norway were fantastic up until about 70 minutes. And
probably could have been up 2-0 if it wasn't for Sorloth in a 2v1 situation, making a very selfish decision. Pass the ball to Erling Haaland. He passed the ball to Erling Haaland. Sorloth, like, he's right there. Like, the only person that said it's Sorloth time was Sorloth. Everyone else was saying it's Erling Haaland time. Like, you have to make the unselfish decision there and find a way to get that ball to Erling Haaland and go up 2-0. And those are the moments, the fine margins, when we're talking about making the difference between going home and rowing your boat all the way back to Norway, or finding a way to make it to Atlanta in the semifinal. Those are the fine margins that prove to be the difference in this match that Norway unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize. And Sorloth, he's probably gonna be kicking himself right now, because there's no way you don't look at that match and think, what if he makes that 100%. Pass over it. And even if Erling doesn't score, whatever the case may be, you give your best player the best chance possible to give you a 2-0 lead. It's not that difficult. I want to give a small shout out to John Stones in that moment, because when they have that break and he is 2-on-1, he defends it as well as you possibly can. Now, the pass to Haaland is still on, and Sorloth should have made it. That's a terrible mistake. But he does a really good job of staying goal side of him, making sure he doesn't turn it back to him. Like, it showed why John Stones is so important when he's healthy. It's just a shame he's not been able to be, because he's a very intelligent defender who reads the game brilliantly. So a small shout out to John Stones in that moment. But even so, what a howler. What a mistake to make. You can talk about every refereeing decision. You can talk about whether the luck went their way. You can talk about that stuff as well. But that is the moment. You go 2-0 up there, you break England's backs, you force them to go in at half-time down 2, and instead they come back. They get the equaliser. They actually go 2-1 up before that goal's ruled out rightly for offside. But I tell you, the scenes in the pub when we scored a nice sell job from Elliot Anderson. from all the talk we get from England fans about it, and especially as we've seen Max on the show time and time again, praising Elliot Anderson for his capabilities.
He was great last night as well. I thought he was one of 2 or 3 England performers who stood out.
It is fair enough, and I can completely understand that, but what a sell job he did, what a flop he had to help sell that push and that shove. And again, good for him, because it worked, but I mean,
it is a push. The problem is, and to put it in like American terms, I was thinking about this last night. Like, I had a couple of buddies with me who are NFL fans. It's a pass interference call. It's the moment you fully extend the arms, the moment you go full push, then it's such an easy flag to throw. If you niggle and you push and you get in there and you do the stuff that we normally see, the dark arts from the corner, you can definitely get away with being physical. But the moment you go full extension of the arms, I don't blame Elliot Anderson for going, and going full theatrics, because it worked.
Where's this England toughness that Thomas Tuchel was talking about? Where's this identity that he was talking about? Instead, we got a bunch of floppers. You're trying to sell the game to Americans, and all of a sudden they're looking up on the screen and a goal gets disallowed because of a flopper.
Let me just drink the tears that are being cried around the world with that moment. Like,
here's one more tear for you.
They taste so sweet.
I got one more tear for you, Wick, because probably the most puzzling thing of this game was, of course, the goal that was equalized to put England.
Great goal.
A beautiful goal by Jude Bellingham. Nothing to take away from the goal itself. However, it is unclear whether the ball hit one of the wires of the Sky Net cam as it was in trajectory up in the air. We've seen a couple angles, and I don't know if it's an optical illusion or not, but there are some 3D technology and some angles that would suggest that the ball did hit one of the wires in the air. However, the sensor that is in the ball did not detect anything of note that would suggest that the ball hit something in its trajectory on that goal kick. And again, I'm not sure if it's an optical illusion, these 3D technology that shows there was a slight hitch in the trajectory of the ball. It does bring a lot of question into the sensor, particularly when, if we do believe that the ball did in fact hit a wire, which again, there are some suggestions that would say that it did potentially hit something and the trajectory did change. How is the sensor not picking that up when it's able to pick up a couple hair strands when we're talking about Croatia and Portugal, and the difference between Portugal advancing in the knockout stage and Croatia going home as a result of this sensor? I think there are some questions to be had about the sensor, because I was fully blindly believing the sensor and impressed by the technology and how it was able to pick up such a fine margin touch from Croatia
need to take that moment from the England game and put it in front of CAS and put it in front of FIFA and say, look, how on earth are we getting knocked out of a competition with this technology when it can't pick that moment up? Now, don't get me wrong, you used the word unclear straight away to talk about that, and I think that's why.
I did, because there's nothing with... As conspiracy theories that I am, there is still...
Get that tinfoil hat out.
Listen, it's a bit too early for the tinfoil hat right now, but the chakras are aligned. And it is very clear that something potentially happened with the trajectory of the ball. But I am not... I don't think it was a foregone conclusion to believe that is the case. But there is some evidence that would suggest that potentially the gripe, and especially with the Norwegians reacting immediately to the fact that the trajectory of the ball did change, that there is some reason to believe the gripe that Norwegians have as a result of the goal being scored and equalizing the game, that potentially there could be something there. But the sensor, I put all my faith in the sensor. Will. And right now, I'm questioning the sensor's capabilities.
And this is part of the issue with the new technology and with VAR, right? That new sensor is so expensive. It's something that they can only bring in for the World Cup. You know, they weren't doing test runs of that sensor. To bring in something like that for a tournament like this, to make those level of decisions, and to not have run it for 2 years in other competitions, to have not had that ball being used in the Champions League, the Europa League, the Conference League over here, the Gold Cup, CONCACAF, whatever you want to be using it, like that should have been rigorously tested. And instead, we've had two of the biggest decisions in the World Cup knockout stages seemingly being made by snickometer when nobody knows if it's actually working or not. Based on last night, doesn't really look like it was, but the driving run from Elliot Anderson, the cutback from Gordon, the finish from Jude Bellingham. Oh, I don't care. We got a bit lucky last night, but we're in the semi-finals of the World Cup. That's what matters. They're rowing home. We're moving on to Atlanta.
One small caveat to just a note. They did use this built-in connected ball technology for Euro 2024. So... And the suggestion is that it can register touches, speed, and positioning 500 times per second. So again, if you want to blindly believe the technology, whether there's a faulty situation with the sensor,
technology at all times. You know, I just technology over humans every time. I love VAR. I love chips in balls. I'm PGMOL, Gavin. Exactly. Today I am. Other days I have not been. Today
I can understand why you feel that way, but I have to bring up that reality because Norwegians feel like there is a gripe to hold here, and based off what I've seen, there is potentially a case for that.
Listen, we ended up going super long talking about this game. Unsurprisingly, it was a monumental game. We need to talk Argentina, Switzerland as well. Controversy in its own right, although maybe not really. What is Embolo doing there? So we'll get into the Argentina of it all.
I mean, Argentina finally get a yellow card and it gets turned around. Like, that's it. At least to the red. It was like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic trick somehow.
In addition to missing the ball hitting the wire last night and maybe some other decisions, I'd like to thank the referee for giving no yellow cards to any of our players last night, meaning we've got the full complement available for the semi-final.
What a miracle. What a miracle.
Based on how physical that game was, astonishing. Loads of you getting in touch on the chat at talkSPORT and at talkSPORT S-Word, so we will get to your comments and mentions as well. We will get onto the Argentina side of things because we do need to talk about that game with Switzerland. Again, huge congratulations to Norway for the tournament they've had. If you were to tell me they're going to win a Euros in the next 8 years, I would not be stunned at all. They were brilliant over this tournament. They were a real ray of sunshine. But the final four is the top four in the world, and we've got a wonderful set of semi-finals on the way. So Kevin Hatchard joins us up next to talk a bit of European football. We've got a great show coming up for you, so stick with us right here on the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
Around here, we only use the F word.
talkSPORT presents
The S Word. Cuss words here. Just 2 hours of full-on football dialogue.
every day.
talkSPORT presents
The S Word.
A lot of you getting in touch with the S Word right now via the S Word YouTube channel. Do go there and give us a subscribe, or head over to talkSPORT. We are on there as well. As we now know, the World Cup semi-finals, Spain, France, England, Argentina, facing off for the 4th time in the knockouts in World Cup history, and every other time has arguably delivered a classic. 66, England beat Argentina on their way to winning their only ever edition of this tournament. 86, the hand of God, followed by one of the greatest goals in World Cup history in the space of just a few short minutes. And then 98 with Beckham sending off, with Sol Campbell's late goal disallowed, with Michael Owen's brilliant goal. These are two teams who, when they face off in the knockout stages, fireworks happen, and I think we could expect the same again on Wednesday. Whilst France-Spain, I mean, it's a classic. It's two of the best teams in the world. It was the two favourites coming into this tournament. This is teed up for a beautiful time.
World Cup final, you could say. Yeah. You could argue.
Yeah, producer Sam did say to me earlier, Argentina's going to feel like my World Cup final on Wednesday. I was like, let's calm down. I think we'll feel differently if we get to an actual World Cup final. It'd be nice to hit one in our lifetime. Please and thank you. So yeah, I'm Gavin. Master Tesfatsion is live in LA. Loads of you getting in touch on YouTube. So we'll get through some of those shortly. But in the meantime, let's bring our first guest on. Europe, for 3 teams in the final 4. It's not what our American brethren were looking for, but the host of Trans-Euro Express means we'll have a lot to say about this. The wonderful Kevin Hatchard is in the house.
Hello, gents. How are we?
We're well. You didn't ask if
They're keeping
we
you
were.
busy, aren't they?
It hurt.
These European countries are keeping you busy.
Goldstein gets very upset if I spray it around too liberally, that catchphrase. He gets very upset. He has watchers and listeners everywhere, so I have to be very careful.
Yeah, he's actually up in the chat already saying, are we well?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Kev, before actually we get on to the talk of the 3 European teams who are in the semi-finals, could we just talk about the 2 that went out yesterday? Because I think both Norway and Switzerland, real opportunities to win those games of football, and I think both kicking themselves this morning.
Yeah, a little bit. I think with Norway, certainly, they weathered what I thought was not an early storm, but an early squall, let's say. I don't think, I thought England started okay. And then after the hydration break, and we've seen this time and time again, they started to have a bit more of the ball. They started to find some gaps. And all the tiny margins went against them, really. I mean, regardless of cable gate or spider cam gate or whatever we want to call it, the fact that they have the goal disallowed for Haaland's push. It is a push. It is the right decision. But, all the kind of tiny moments didn't quite go their way. This was a phenomenal achievement from them to get this far, because it was never about whether Haaland or Ødegaard would deliver. It was always going to be about whether the supporting cast would step up. And they did. Christopher Ayer, I thought, had a really good tournament at centre-back, apart from giving away that penalty against Brazil. Erling Haaland, who isn't even Sevilla's first-choice goalkeeper, I thought was outstanding until he wasn't. And it was tragic, really, the fact it was his mistake that ultimately led to Norway's downfall. But they did a brilliant job getting this far. For Switzerland, it was a real shame, the timing of the red card for Embolo, because at that point they'd equalised, they were on top. And you felt like they really could get the second goal. And that was without probably their best player of the tournament, Johan Manzambi.
Going to that Switzerland situation, and obviously, the yellow card being given to Paredes, and eventually, obviously, the mistaken identity VAR, which has been incorporated in this World Cup, I believe the second time that we've seen it implemented, and using that to give him his second yellow to be sent off. What did you think about that situation? And is this a case of re-refereeing using VAR?
It's exactly what it is. And I hate it because it's creeping towards being effectively a game that's refereed twice. And that was never what it was supposed to be. That's never what it was sold as. And that's what we're getting. And you mentioned it already about the chip in the ball and all of this. The idea is supposed to be that, refereeing ultimately can be applied in any competition, in any country, and you are getting standards that are totally different in different competitions. And I'm not up for it at all. I was quite pro VAR when we started, and now I would get rid of it for everything apart from goal line technology and offsides, because they're absolutes. They're things that can be, they're either are or they're not. And I just think it's creeping into so many elements of the game. There's very little thought given to fans in the stadium when it's used. I don't think. Yes, we've got referee announcements, but I don't even like those. So it's a dive, yes. So maybe you can say, okay, we reached the right decision in the end. But for me, that's the referee that should be picking that up, or the linesman who should be picking that up, rather than let's have another look and go back over it. I do not like the way it's going.
It's really interesting, Kev, because I'm very much with you. I was a guy who was very pro VAR. I believe there is a place for technology in football, and that actually well-implicated VAR could be something that improves the game. And I really think that there is a world that exists. I have become, over the past 12 months particularly, absolutely beaten down by how badly implicated it's been, and yet implemented, how badly implemented it's been, and yet I completely supported that decision last night. Breel Embolo, stupid. What are you doing? Why are you throwing yourself on the floor like that in that situation? It's not like it's in the box. It's not like you're trying to win a penalty. It's not like you're trying to protect yourself.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's an error, but what I would say is that it's almost a separate incident. Yes, I'm not arguing against the validity of it, but what is this mistaken identity protocol? What is it? Why is there such confusion around it? Why isn't it clear? And the problem you have, unfortunately, if we step back a little bit and look at a more global view, the Balogun thing has just created so much suspicion, and it has shredded, and this isn't Folarin Balogun's fault, it's not the US team's fault, but what that has done is it has created suspicion over every decision FIFA will now make. And that's not fair on referees, it's not fair on all of the people that put the work in for the VAR and what have you. But unfortunately, that's what it is. So let's go to Argentina, Egypt. If you look at it rationally, Argentina win it fair and square. They come back. Egypt collapsed in the closing stages. What have you got, though? You've got an Egyptian coach, Egyptian players coming out and saying this game is rigged. They want Argentina to win. Now, we know that's not true, or we think that's not true. We that's the view I have, certainly, when I look at it rationally. But this whole thing that FIFA have done in shredding their own credibility has created a situation where everybody can wonder. They might not be right, but everybody can wonder, and they'll say, I don't think it's rigged, but what if it was? I don't think they've made that decision because of that, but what if they did? And it's just led to a whole load of scrutiny and conjecture that never needed to be there.
I mean, there always is a case, though, for, some sort of favoritism. We deal with that, obviously, in the United States, whether it's basketball, the NFL, and, the superstar calls, per se. The threshold thing, I think, is something very interesting, particularly with Argentina, when they get a yellow card once every 19 fouls going into this match, and their opponents get a yellow card once every 7 fouls going into this match. And again, the sheer irony that finally Argentina's getting a yellow card, and that gets reversed through VAR and leads to Switzerland being down
right?
the
Yeah. And listen,
that's the history of football, though.
I've got to tell you, had last night there been a yellow card for Jude Bellingham in the late stages, which was kind of a borderline call, well, I totally agree with you that I don't believe there's a conspiracy. I'd immediately be going, they just want Argentina to win it. They won't let us have Jude Bellingham in the semi-finals. This is a disgrace, because at the end of the day, people do manage these things with their emotions. They try not to be. They try and be objective, and they try to be rational, but unfortunately, rationality doesn't exist amongst football fans.
But this is the issue, right? So what we're talking about here is the kind of thing we've talked about throughout the history of football. Do the big teams get more decisions? Yes, they obviously do. You look through the history of club football, international football, it's just the way it goes. I'm not impugning referees with that, but that's just naturally what tends to happen. And then that's fine. That's the kind of normal debate. Oh, I don't agree with that. Oh, that's, But because FIFA have made this, the Cristiano Ronaldo decision where they commuted his 3-match ban to a 1-match ban and mysteriously suspended the other 2. And then they followed that up with this Balogun thing, which still hasn't been explained. There hasn't been any justification made for why it was suspended. Just all they've said is we have the facility to do it, and an independent panel said it was okay. And again, it's not me having to go at Balogun. I feel very sorry for him, actually, and I feel quite sorry for Poch and his players. But the fact that you've then got members of the US government openly saying, well, we spent a lot of federal dollars on this, and, it was fair enough that we lobbied to have the decision looked at, just creates so much suspicion and so much doubt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, again, who knows how, as suspicious as we can be at FIFA, I'm sure the White House is just pouring with truth in terms of every single time they speak. But we came on to bring you on to talk about how Europe has been successful. So
yeah, sorry, I've ranted.
No, I like it.
No, we all have. It's beautiful. This is the S word in its essence. But obviously, 16 European teams coming in. The top 3 teams that we expected, France, Spain, and England, all find their way to the semifinal. What does that mean in terms of the totality of global football, but also what it means for these 3 countries?
I think with all of these things, you have to look on a case-by-case basis. It's exactly the same when you have, say, English teams that dominate the group stage of the Champions League. Does it suddenly mean English football is above everything else? Absolutely not. So you always have to look a little bit case-by-case. What I've been impressed by is how largely they've dealt with the conditions. I mean, obviously, we've talked about environmental factors with England, what they had to deal with at the Azteca in terms of the altitude, what they've had to deal with in terms of the heat in Miami. France have had some pretty hot conditions as well. I think all three, if you'd have asked me pre-tournament, and people did ask me, did I think they were in the group that could win it, I would put all of them in there. This semi-final lineup does not remotely surprise me. And when I was asked on the TS Daily preview who I thought would reach the final, I had down France and Argentina. That's not some big, incredible Nostradamus prediction. They're the teams that you would expect to do well. But the reason they do well is because they have a mix of incredible talent, great structure, brilliant coaching, and just an unbelievable mentality. You look at the way England have fought the way through. You look at some of the scrapes Argentina have been in. France, I thought, stood up to some real punishment against Paraguay, smiled the way through it. They've also shredded some teams as well. But then, in tricky moments against Morocco came through and found the magic moments. Spain, I think we haven't seen the best of them yet, but what we've seen is a very controlled team. Still think they have the weaknesses, but all four teams absolutely deserve their places in the semi-finals.
And just one last one, Kev, because in your other life as a Bundesliga commentator, you commentate on that brilliant Borussia Dortmund team that on which Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham were really introduced to the wider world. The two good friends on the field last night. Did you foresee back then that these two would be so dominant in world football and end up being in this kind of position, showing out on such a big stage?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because with Haaland for a start, you knew there was an incredibly, not only physically dominant player, but I admire his mentality. People talk about, he only has a handful of touches. He doesn't care. He's absolutely laser focused and locked in every moment because, people look at it as a negative. He's only had 10 touches. But imagine going into a game knowing you've probably only got a handful of touches. So you better make them count when you get them. And he does time and time and time again. And just by being on that pitch, he affects everything on that pitch. So, yeah, you could tell he was going to do incredibly well. And his goal records from the get-go have been phenomenal. With Jude, you could see from the moment he arrived at Dortmund, the personality he plays with, the mentality he has, the fact he's a leader. He was captain of Dortmund at 19. It's an enormous football club. He's 23. It's his fourth major tournament for England. And he is a moments player. He's the one that really steps up. I love the way he speaks in media. I think he's phenomenal. And I think England fans should absolutely cherish him because I'll tell you one thing, the Germans would, the Spanish would, the Argentinians definitely would. He is somebody that should be universally cherished and praised because there are not many like him.
I really wanted, as Kev was speaking, then just to be sneaky. Na, na, na. They're just coming in underneath. I felt the swell. I felt it building in my... And it's why still, I said it at the top of the show, it's why still I believe on Wednesday and will believe next Sunday, because after years of being an England fan who has watched the top players not perform on the biggest stage, it's been injury, it's been metatarsals, it's been fitness and form coming into it. There have been so many things you can blame. Not anymore. The top-tier guys are turning up, and I hope they do again on Wednesday. Kev, you are a top-tier guy whenever you join us. Really appreciate
A1.
you, brother.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
10 of 10 rating.
Very much.
10 of 10 seconds.
Yeah, you are an
guys.
Adrian Durham 10 of 10, which is tough.
I will take that. I will absolutely take that.
Joining us next, we are going to get the Norwegian perspective on last night. A man who scored a crucial goal against England when they didn't qualify for the 1994 World Cup. The brilliant former Norway midfielder Lars Bohinen joins us up next here on The S Word from talkSPORT.
From kickoff to the full-time whistle,
talkSPORT presents
The S Word.
football in North America. And I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet. The S Word from talkSPORT.
Will Gavin live in London here on the S Word, sponsored by Country. The brilliant Master Tesfatsion live in Los Angeles. Just 3 meaningful games left of this World Cup. We'll cover the third place playoff. Don't worry about it. But, you know, realistically, 3 games, 4 teams.
That England-Spain third-place match is going to be a sight to behold in Miami.
It's going to really
cannot wait.
In that heat again. God,
I can't wait. Who's going to start that one? Who's going to be the starting right back for that one?
My belief in my starting 11 for the third-place playoff is going to be... I might actually do that at some point. Just, you know, don't start anyone who in any way will have an impact on club football this year, basically. Loving hearing from you in the comments.
Maybe we'll finally see Kobe Mainu in the third-place game.
Lots of you up in the comments talking about both of these games on both talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2, and a lot of love coming in for Norway, although Mr. 420 says if Alexander Soloth passes that ball, Norway win. It does feel a little bit like that. I just saw another reverse angle of it with Erling Haaland's reaction to it. Absolutely devastating. And Norway have been such a joy in this tournament. The fans have been brilliant. As a team, they've been fantastic. They gave us the upset with Brazil, and they could have beaten England last night, and maybe even should have beaten England based on the balance of play. But I'm trying to say that a man joining us now who broke my heart when I was about 10 years old and helped stop England from qualifying for the 1994 World Cup as he scored against England and they did qualify is the wonderful Lars Bohinen. Lars, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Look, we really appreciate you joining us. And before we get into that game last night, can you just tell us a little bit of the national pride in seeing how well Norway have done at this tournament?
Yeah, the pride is there. I mean, the disappointment right after the game yesterday was big, but it took about 15 minutes, and then everybody sort of took a step back and thought about the effort and the results and the performances that we've had, and everybody is just expressing a real pride of what the team has achieved.
Was the frustration based off the inability to advance, or was it potentially some of the reaction we've seen from Norwegians that feel like perhaps they were robbed of this match?
No, it's a little bit of both, I think. I think that we felt that we had a real chance of beating England, of course, and we had, and then the way the whole game turned out with those incidents that you probably have discussed, I think that fueled the disappointment more than if there was just regular goals and not so many debatable situations.
Here's the feeling, I mentioned it before, but if you do go 2-0 up, if Soloth does pass that ball to Haaland, and I think you would bet on him to score 100 times out of 100, forget 99 out of 100 in that situation, yeah, is the feeling if you go 2-0 up there that this is your game to lose at that point?
Yes, that's what we thought at the time. He should have passed the ball, and you can see the reaction from Erling after he didn't pass the ball and he tried the shot that he felt that he should have had the ball. And I think at 2-0, it would have been difficult for England to come back. We've been pretty solid defensively over this campaign. So, I think that would have changed the game.
As you talked about some of the situations that didn't break your way, whether they should have, shouldn't have. Obviously, the biggest conversation right now is the free kick, the goal kick that potentially hit the wire and impacted the trajectory of the ball, but it wasn't picked up by the sensor of the ball. Did you feel like the trajectory of the ball changed and that goal should have been disallowed?
Yes, I think that we see it, and I think that the people who are closest to it, I know we are biased being Norwegian, everybody will say that it must have touched something, but I think we can see it. But I can also understand if they can't see it properly on the television or from the pictures or even on the chip in the ball, then it's difficult for the referee to do something else. But I think that those two situations that we talked about now changed the game.
And then the other one, not to just harp on the negative moments, but the Erling Haaland push on Elliot Anderson, which resulted in the goal being disallowed. What did you make of that incident?
I think what's been said, or some people have said, that if that is a free kick inside the box, there should have been a lot of penalties. being given, because the pushing and holding and shirt holding and everything that's going on in the box, from corner kicks, set pieces. If that's a free kick, then it's just a lack of consistency in what is free kick and what is penalty inside the box. And I don't think that was. I think it fell lightly, and I think he felt the push and then fell lightly. And in my eyes, it probably shouldn't have been a free kick.
I think it's a fair point. I think from my perspective, and obviously I'm saying this with my England bias on, but for Erling Haaland, a player who we obviously adore in this country, who has become an international superstar over this tournament, if he needed to be even more so, I just think he needs to be a bit more savvy. It's when he goes full extension with the arms. It's not just kind of getting inside and those usual dark arts, nudges and pushes. You know this better than we do. You played the game at the top level, but it's just the fact that it's a full extension. It's pushing away. You allow the referee to make that decision, which you don't necessarily do if it's borderline. I think they give the goal.
I totally agree with you. It makes it easier for the referee to give it as a free kick, and maybe he should have hit it more or been a little bit more clever in this situation. But all in all, it's not it's not a tough push, but he gives the referee an opportunity to do it, and he took it.
Lars, I'm based in America. The entire country fell in love with Norway. I was at a pub, and I'd say 80 to 90% of the fans were supporting and rooting for Norway. They fall in love with the country, the nation, the supporters, and obviously Erling Haaland, as he's grown into an American household name at this point. Everyone from Uber drivers to moms and dads are all talking about Erling Haaland. What will this run do for the future of Norwegian football?
Hopefully it will give us the experience in the next European qualification, sort of to go through there, which is a little bit more difficult than it is to qualify for the World Cup. And it will also, I think, inspire young Norwegian players to play more football and see that it's possible, what we've achieved now, and the attention it gets, and the way the team and the federation has represented Norway. I think it's been class, just the way that everything has come together for us. And I do understand the popularity of the Norwegian supporters and the way we behave. The supporters only want to have fun and make a great atmosphere, and I think that they've really done that, and we can be proud of them as well.
And I think a lot of us, as England fans, we love seeing when the players line up in front of the fans at the end, singing along with them. It's had a real communal spirit, but the row has been the absolute sensation, as much as Erling Haaland has. Like getting up in front of the fans, the banging of the drum, the roo, like doing it in the streets of every city before we saw Times Square taken over by it. I'm not saying everyone should have a gimmick or have something that will make them stand out, but it just really gave Norway their own little thing, their own little, something to latch onto that people just absolutely fell in love with.
Yeah, and the paradox is that when they started here in the game against Sweden, a preparation game before the World Cup, they started a little bit, 20, 30, 40 fans doing it, and we were all thinking, that's a copy of the Icelandic thing.
Yeah, the clown.
And we really frowned a little bit, but it just took off completely after that, and everybody has accepted it and embraced it. So but in the end, it almost became too much.
No, I don't think so. I loved it. I was still on board.
To the point where England is literally copying the fact they're in the match. I think I heard a couple bang drums in England chanting, trying to get the same reception and response.
Do you know what they were singing in our pub last night after the game finished? And listen, I think we've had really good, there were a bunch of Norwegians in the pub I was in last night. The atmosphere and the camaraderie between both sets of fans was really strong. There was no animosity, but they were singing "They're Rowing Home" to the tune of "It's Coming Home." They're rowing home, they're rowing home, they're rowing.
Don't worry, Lars.
Norway's rowing home. I'm sorry,
you know how the story, Lars. You know how the story ends. We've seen it time and time again. We know how this England story ends, don't we?
We don't have.
We know how this England story ends, time and time again. We know how this England story ends.
Yeah, how it ends. Yeah, we know how it ends. But it should have been us instead. Playing the semi-final. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Is that something? I'll have to ask that. Is that something that will stick with the fans and with yourself? Like the unsatisfactory aspect of it, and again, some of the decisions and stuff. It feels like still the next day it is something that's weighing heavy on you.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavy, I think, because it ended in that way. But on the other hand, I think that the players are coming home tomorrow and they're going to meet the king and being greeted, I'm sure, by thousands of people. But I think that in the end, what we've achieved it's an overachievement in terms of we've been away from the World Cup for 28 years. It's the first time we're in. It's an experience that we're not used to. We're not used to playing in tournaments, and I think that this experience has really given us a platform now to build on, and everybody feels proud of it. And I think that the disappointment will vanish within today probably, and everybody will just feel a sense of pride.
And listen, Lars, from my perspective, yes, you overachieved in terms of where you are in world rankings and first time in a World Cup in 28 years. But actually, like, as I see you bring players like Noosa off the bench and players like Oscar Bob off the bench last night, who, as an England fan, brought genuine fear to me that those are players that could come and take over that game. I did sit and I look at the fact that Erling Haaland's still only 25, that Odegaard and Ayer, like, those players will still be in this team in 2 years' time in the Euros, in 4 years' time at the World Cup. Like, I do feel like Norway can establish themselves, and, you know, there's no reason that you shouldn't be in the semi-finals of the Euros next time, that you shouldn't be pushing England, France, Spain, those kind of so-called top-tier sides for a chance to go and win that tournament.
Yeah, hopefully, because there's also a generation behind these players that you mentioned that's coming up, and I think that the inspiration for the future generation is there, but still have too few people to be consistent participant of World Cups and European Championships. It will go in cycles like it has done before, but hopefully not a 28-year cycle, maybe 5 or 10-year cycle.
I think we're going to see Norway back at a major tournament sooner than that. I
think so too.
Lars, it's been wonderful to meet you, to catch up with you. Commiserations for yesterday, but your nation lit up this tournament and it was a delight to see you, so thank you so much.
On behalf of America, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for brightening up our world, and hopefully somebody else can take down England.
Thank you very much.
It is true, Master. Like, when I look at no worries. It is true, Master. And listen, from an England perspective, delighted to be through to the semi-finals. You may not be familiar with Peep Show, or this might be a very British reference for you, but there's a very famous meme of David Mitchell where there's a sketch where they're playing kind of two very low-level, low-tier Nazis who realise suddenly that they're the bad guys, and like in their own minds they hadn't been. It's, are we the baddies? Is like the meme. And I think England might be the bad guys. Like, actually going up against Argentina.
You're just realizing this? You're just now of all times, you're just realizing the fact that everyone watches England? It took July 12th, 2026 for you to realize that people do not like seeing England win in this tournament?
Yeah. Okay. Hands up, I'm aware that that's been an issue before. But to go and knock out Mexico in Mexico when they brought such brilliant times to this tournament and was such a wonderful host, to then knock out Norway and Erling Haaland, who are so beloved. And listen, I know that if we beat Argentina, it will be very divided. There'll be a lot of the footballing community who'll be celebrating that the FIFA darlings and Lionel Messi aren't going to get a chance at a second title. There'll also be a lot of people who love Lionel Messi who are going to be pretty angry at England for knocking them out.
I don't know who to root for. I don't know who to... I was sitting next to a Mexican fan, and he was decked out in his Mexican gear. And when I tell you, the hate watch not only rang through Americans, it cut through Mexicans, it cut through Brazilians. And you got to remember, Mexicans and Brazilians, they bought these tickets to that quarterfinal match ahead of time because they both had the anticipation that their nations could potentially be in that. Chris Whittingham, friend of the show, he was at that match. And he said it was jaw-dropping the fact of how many Mexicans and Brazilians were on the side of the Norwegians, hoping that they would find a way to beat England. And now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because this was supposed to be the greatest hate watch I've ever had yesterday. And England advances, and so does Argentina. Now I've got to deal with the semifinal in Atlanta, where one of these teams is going to advance to the final, and I don't know who to root for. I do not know who to root for. Do I root for England? Do I root for Argentina? I do not know, which is why I'm here wearing this France hoodie, because I need Mr. Mbappe, the ruler of all rulers, the king of all kings. I need Mr. Mbappe to do what he does and come home with the World Cup trophy.
Listen to me. Thomas Tuchel, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Declan Rice, Elliot Anderson, the lot of you, all of you. We need to embrace this. Do what America should have done when it came to their game against Belgium, where they should have embraced their villain status. We need to be the wrestling heel. We need Paul Heyman in our corner announcing us. We need to be like, okay, we're the bad guys, so let's go up against Argentina and let's play like the bad guys. Let's go in there. Let's put it on them. Let's go in there and say, fine, you all want to hate us? Hate us. It doesn't matter if we win. So come on. Maybe I've only just realised we're the baddies. Maybe I didn't realise that we were the bad guys before.
It's heel versus heel.
I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
It's heel versus heel.
Come on, England. Be the bad guys. If you win the
You're
World Cup,
embracing being the villains. When there's another villain.
Yes, come on.
It's heel versus heel. Now you're embracing the being a villain. You have been the villain for your whole life.
In our villain era, baby, and we're here for it. You should be here for it. This is the S Word, sponsored by Calci. Julio Arca is joining us coming up next. So as we go heel for heel, we've got Adrian Durham coming up in the next hour as well. Brilliant show. Stick with us.
Big name reaction from both sides of the pond.
The S Word
From talkSPORT. featuring Bill Gavin and Master Tesfatsion. And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Hi, I'm Will, the bad guy Gavin, apparently. I always thought people liked England. No? Didn't people? I thought people loved England. Like, it's coming home, all a bit of fun, you know?
Which country did you guys colonize all of a sudden is like a huge fan of England? Let me know.
Hey,
you spread the country all around the world and everyone else is better at it than
Norway colonized
apparently.
us.
Well, I can't say that anymore.
Let's be clear. Norway colonized us first.
I'm sorry.
We've got to go back nearly 1,000 years, but still, it counts. Right?
I retract my statement. I guess it counts for something.
I absolutely loved Lars, by the way. What a very...
he was great. I felt so bad because we kept asking him all these questions.
Yeah. Just poking him, just being like, oh yeah, how rubbish was the Erling Haaland bit? Oh yeah, what about Sorloth not passing it? Oh...
At a certain point, he just broke. He's like, it should have been us. And I'm like, yes. Yeah.
Oh, God. Listen, we've got a great second hour coming up. Adrian Durham's going to be joining us. We will look forward to those two semi-finals. We've not talked a lot of Spain-France today, obviously, as they were already through yesterday. And we need to talk more about this Argentina game. 3-1 winners over Switzerland, but the Swiss with the second half equaliser, the sending off in the 75th minute, making all the difference between these two teams. And the fact is that much like England, Argentina are through to a World Cup semi-final without having really hit that top gear. You could argue they come from behind against Egypt. I was thinking about England again. You could argue that coming from behind against Egypt, that maybe was their moment. But then yesterday again, not quite there, Master, not quite there.
Yeah, and honestly, the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they score the goal in the set piece and they go up 1-0. But after that point, I mean, hats off to Switzerland. They really frustrated Argentina and made it very, very difficult in the same way we saw against Colombia. And when they were able to find the equalizer, you're thinking, oh, could this be Lionel Messi's final match? Which I feel like we've been saying every single knockout stage, because Argentina, despite facing, let's be honest, lesser competition than we would anticipate and expect from this Argentine side and being the defending World Cup winners, they haven't necessarily played up to that. And very fortunate for the yellow card, which was called, that through mistaken identity VAR was overturned and led to Embolo receiving the second yellow. And I feel for him as he was sobbing off the pitch, because you could feel the sense of momentum, the shift that was happening in that match at that point, and the chance, just the possibility, the belief, the idea that Switzerland could pull this off and find themselves in the semifinal, which would be just a miraculous and incredible achievement. And to go down, and hats off to them. They defended tremendously well for as long as they did, being down a man and taking it into extras. But at a certain point, you knew the dam was going to burst, and Argentina was able to find 2 goals in extras and win this thing 3-1. But I got to say, it's hard to say this about a semifinalist, don't get me wrong, but Argentina looks like they're up for the taking, Will. And I'm sure every single fan in England has to think that that's the case. They're right there for the taking. 38-year-old, 39-year-old Lionel Messi, and everyone else, he's still carrying the load. He's still shouldering the load. And with a team like England, as balanced as they are, you have to feel like of all the matchups you could have hoped for in a semifinal, of the 3-4 teams that are remaining, you have to feel pretty good about being able to face Argentina and Atlanta. Rubbing my hands together. That's what I'm doing, sir. I'd love to... Is our guest there? Sorry, I didn't know if he was... All right, don't say it in my ear like that. You hadn't told me. I don't know. Let's welcome on friend of the show. And you turned to the high-pitched voice like you're me now.
Leave me alone. I'm having a very tough morning. I feel very rough today. The wonderful Julio Arca is here.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, sir. Listen,
great to have you back.
Delighted to have you join us. How are you feeling about that Argentine performance last night? And much like us as England fans, or me as an England fan, not Master to be clear, does it still feel like you've not found that extra gear, like you've still got more in the tank ready?
Well, first of all, feel relieved that Argentina managed to get another great victory and obviously achieve another semi-final. Yes, the game probably wasn't great. If I have to be honest, I don't think Argentina haven't been playing well, especially the last 2 or 3 games. But I believe this team got that resilience of fighting till the end, never give up. I mean, they show against Egypt what they're capable to do when everyone saw, well, we out. And they managed to turn the game around, and they did that game yesterday. I know obviously the game changed when Switzerland got a man sent off, but Argentina obviously took advantage of that and secured the victory.
Did you expect going into this tournament that Lionel Messi would have to shoulder and carry the load as much as he has? Because I thought we were expecting a bit more of a balanced side here, and that he wouldn't be in that position, but he has been. And as impressed as I am by that, I'm also surprised considering the talent on this roster.
I mean, I'm not surprised of seeing Messi, the way he's playing, the way he's running, the way he's working for the team, because, I mean, I've been following him, obviously, playing in America the last few months, and, I could see that he was looking fit and ready for this World Cup. Obviously, I believe this is the last one for him, so he's trying to enjoy as much as he can, but obviously he's trying to give the best for his nation. So, and obviously for the other players, see him running, chasing, scoring goals at 39, obviously they get them motivated to say, well, if they can do it, we should be available to do it. So, yes, the team working together. As I say, they haven't been playing well, but they're working together as a team. And obviously now being in the semi-final, playing against England, it's a big challenge now.
Julio, let me ask you about that Breel Embolo sending off, because I'm sure with your Argentine hat on, delighted that the right decision was came to. It helps your team get through to the semi-final. But as a former pro, how do you feel about VAR extending its reach to that point where it is re-refereeing those decisions now?
Well, I mean, the problem with VAR is how, when something happens, how much can you go back? It's a limit of time that you can go back, a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. I mean, last time, obviously, when Argentina played against Egypt and that goal was disallowed because, obviously, one of the Argentinian players was stamped on his foot, and then they have to go back to review that. Then people was complaining, say, well, they cannot go back that much and then cancel the goal. So I think what happened yesterday, obviously, the player dive, he faked obviously a free kick, and it's a yellow card. If you do that inside the box, it's a yellow card. If you're trying to get a penalty but you dive, it's a yellow card. So obviously you have a yellow card before, and that meant that he had to be off. No ideal, obviously, for Switzerland, but it benefits Argentina. But I think every decision against or for Argentina, especially in this World Cup, being questionable. Everyone is questioning, why they're doing this, why they're doing that. It feels like majority of people, or a lot of people, want Messi and Argentina to fail because they probably will hate them to win it again, and Argentina is getting closer and closer, not playing well. But yeah, I feel like, especially in social media, a lot of people question, or they think all the referees working alongside Argentina to get Messi another World Cup final. It's crazy.
What do you think of that as the noise has gotten louder? Obviously people are pointing to different things about, Argentina getting a foul, a yellow card every 19 fouls, and their opponents getting a yellow card every 7 fouls, and obviously every single VAR decision being questioned. But for you, do you block out the noise? Do you just laugh at it? How do you respond to that as an Argentine, as you see the noise continue to get louder?
If you have to be honest, I'm not bothered. I'm more worried about Argentinian performances than that, because the further you go in the competition, if you cannot change that gear, if you cannot go a gear or two up, then you're gonna obviously deal with the consequences. Now you got England. Yes, they haven't played well. Some of the games they play better, but they are a strong team. They got quality players, experienced players. They got a great manager as well. So you're facing a difficult opponents now. So Argentina will have to turn up in good conditions and play better than probably what they did last few games. Because if then it's going to be complicated for them.
But do you think there's any validity to the complaints and the suggestions that Argentina has gotten favoritism? Do you think there's any validity to the comments and the Twitter comments and people suggesting that?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't see anything like that going on. I mean, against Egypt, Argentina was getting beat 2-0 with 10 minutes or 12 minutes before the end. So if it's people trying to help Argentina, well, that's not the best scenario to help Argentina. 2-0 down, 10 minutes to go, but Argentina as a team, they show well. When everything is against us, we can obviously turn this around, and they did against Egypt. And yesterday they had to go to extra time. Yeah, it wasn't great, but they managed again to score that 2 late goals and win. So, look, I think Argentina, not just this World Cup, the last 5 years with this manager, been really, really good. And it's good to see a team and young players is welcoming to the national team, and it's good to see Argentina progressing, because obviously Messi, at some point, he will leave the team. And then we're going to need other players to obviously replace him.
From your perspective, like, I think it's interesting that you say that, you know, the Lionel Messi side of things, that is a big motivation for them. They see him running, working hard, doing everything he's doing, and they see inspiration in it. Do you think Lionel Scaloni, and do you think this Argentina team do use that kind of bulletin board material as well? The kind of us versus them mentality, the everyone hates us, so we're going to prove them wrong and go and beat them. Everyone thinks every decision is rigged against us, so we're going to prove them wrong. Is that something that you would use? Do you think that's something the team are using to give them that little extra boost?
They probably use that as an extra boost, as you're saying. I mean, I'm not sure obviously what's going on behind doors in the national team, but I'm sure they are aware of comments and things that obviously been said in the last few weeks. But I don't think they're going to pay more attention on that. I think they're going to pay more attention now on study England, have a look at what they're capable to do, especially in set pieces, you know, how they could possibly see the game going on Wednesday. And they're going to look, obviously, at the strength of England and the weakness as well, and try to work on them.
Master Tesfatsion, anything from you? We'll bid Julio a fine farewell. Go on.
I mean, what would it mean if Argentina is able to make it back to the World Cup final after winning in 2022? How significant would that be, beating England and making it back to the final in New Jersey?
Well, I mean, it'll be obviously fantastic. Like, it will be fantastic, obviously, for English fans to see England, you know, achieving a final. You know, I know England been chasing for this trophy for a long time. Luckily, obviously, we won it last time, but the problem in Argentina, well, the good problem in Argentina is the fans always want more. You know, and the fans expecting now the team to, like, gain the final and hopefully win it again. But yeah, it will be incredible if we can see another final between, obviously, Argentina and then, well, whatever happened between France and Spain. That I believe.
Come on, we want the rematch. We want the rematch.
France is the strongest team. I believe France will be there, but I don't want to spoil it, you know. So yes, yeah. It'll be great to see Argentina again, you know, competing to obviously get a trophy again.
Julio, listen, he's talking about a rematch of 4 years ago. As a young man who lived through 98, as a very young man who lived through 86, we were already getting the big rematch. We're getting the big rematch this Wednesday, England, Argentina. This is as significant as it gets for English football fans. It's Argentina and it's Germany. Those on the world stage are the two that we love to face off with. 2-1 against each other in these knockout games. So listen, you and I can be friends for now. Come Wednesday, there will be no friends with Argentines. There will be no...
For a few hours. At least for a few hours. Yeah.
Julio, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day, lads. Take care. Bye.
You too.
The lovely Julio Arca joining us here. I don't want to hate a man that I love so much, but I'm just saying, on Wednesday, I'm not going to be eating any lovely Argentinian steak. I'm not going to be enjoying a nice Malbec. I am going to be very much swearing off anything of that region, because for 90 minutes, probably 120 in penalties, let's be honest, at this rate, they are the enemy. And that's how I feel.
I will be swearing off anything English and Argentine as I watch that match. Wherever I'm
you're famously eating beans on toast everywhere you go, or fish and chips, or, you know.
I do enjoy me some fish and chips. Let's be honest. I could do me some fish and chips. I could do me an Argentine steak or two. But
I love it.
On Wednesday, I got to figure out who I'm rooting for. I am absolutely torn. And thankfully, I have a couple days to sort it out.
How dare you? Surely you're voting for the Three Lions. We've embraced you as one of our own. How could you not?
Y'all have?
All right. We're the baddies
am I just now realizing this as you realize you're the heel?
We're being the baddies again. Sorry.
The baddies.
Speaking of being the bad guys, Adrian Durham will embrace that moniker more than anyone else I know. Can't wait. We'll speak to him up next here on talkSPORT.
From the touchline to the terraces,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
yourself to the full-time whistle. Don't say the S word. Say the F word. Football. The S word from talkSPORT.
You're back with the S word from talkSPORT. I'm Will Gavin, live in London. Master Tesfatsion, live from Los Angeles. Everyone's feeling a little worse for wear this morning after another, well, I was going to say brilliant night following the World Cup. It was a tough, a tense, an embattled night, but we got there in the end. That's the main thing. And we are set up for, as Master put it, heel versus heel in the semi-final. The two bad guys of this World Cup. We've knocked out Mexico. We've knocked out the nation's darlings, Norway. And now we're coming for you, Lionel Messi, as England take on Argentina live on talkSPORT on Wednesday evening. Spain, France ahead of that as well on Tuesday. Plenty of time over the next 2 days to build up to that one. Loads of you getting in touch via the talkSPORT YouTube channel and the S Word YouTube channel as well. Gaz says England fans already shading Argentina when their team is no better right now. No, both teams need to find another gear. Both teams need to make a step up. Whoever does it on Wednesday, I think one team is going to put in their best performance of the tournament so far. I believe it will be England. And Rich points out Messi, 205 caps and never faced England. That's another little part of this. Is as much as it's the fourth time these two teams have faced in knockouts, Master, as much as it's such a history between these two teams, from the hand of God to the Beckham sending off to the, us beating them on the route to winning the World Cup. Lionel Messi's never faced England before. That in itself, a little lovely bit of history for us to enjoy on Wednesday.
Yeah, it should be tremendous history. As we're talking about comments and stuff that was made of the game, in the local broadcast here in America, Zlatan at halftime mentioned, he said, if the ball in fact did hit the cable, then the cable had a better performance than Noni Madueke.
There you go. Zlatan said that basically England were playing with 10 men last night, and he only got a 1 out of 10 from this man's ratings. And I've got to tell you, after the Mexico game, I was at a bus stop waiting for a night bus, and I overheard two fans discussing Adrian Durham's player ratings. He's absolutely massive. He's absolutely everywhere, and now he joins us live from Miami. Adrian Durham, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just great. We're in the semi-finals of the World Cup. What's not to love? And those two fans at the bus stop waiting for the night bus, 10 out of 10, both of them.
I would be privileged to even get just a 4 out of 10 from Adrian Durham. I'd be quite happy with that. 7 England players last night getting a 4 out of 10 or less. It's got to be better, Aid, hasn't it?
It has, and I think after last night, it can't be much worse. I woke up this morning amazed that we were through, thinking it was a dream. We played that badly, and yet we somehow managed to get through. And you've got to be happy about that, because in tournament football, any tournament, whether it's FA Cup, Carabao Cup, or the World Cup, the result now is everything. So I'll actually take 2 more performances like that, as long as it's 2 more results like that. But we want to try and make sure. I said on the podcast, the World Cup Daily, that we are Jude Bellingham FC at the moment. That's exactly what we are. I maintain he's the best player at this World Cup, and I know there's been some good ones for France. I get that, but he is the man who, not quite single-handedly, there's been some other players helping him along. I thought Anderson, Spence, Stones were all good last night, but Jude Bellingham is the one who's taken us to this semi-final.
It's crazy because, again, people were talking about whether he should be in the starting 11, whether he should be in the number 10 role, what where he's going to play in this starting 11. And I think it's very clear that you need him around the box so he can create magic and have this innate sense for being able to find the back of the net, as he's done time and time again for England and Real Madrid.
Yeah, Master, I think it's a really good point. We're not going to do anything without him. And by the way, he didn't get booked last night, so he is in the semi-final. And that, I think it's a big tick next to Jude Bellingham's name. He said afterwards that his mum had been on at him all week, not to put in crazy tackles, not to get booked. So fair play. In that respect, he's growing up. But one thing that does annoy me is when people bang on and on about how, oh, he said this 12 months ago. Well, 12 months ago, the landscape was very different. 12 months ago, Jude Bellingham was kicking an ice bucket right next to a lineswoman in the game at the City Ground when England lost to Senegal. He was fuming. He could have got some serious suspension for that incident. This was the Jude Bellingham 12 months ago. So when you're commenting on an issue that happened that long ago, 12 months ago, of course it's going to be different to now. I think how Thomas Tuchel has handled him needs the greatest of respect and appreciation, because what he's done is he's kind of split up the Trent-Jude partnership. And Thomas Tuchel obviously felt that needed to be done to go deep in this World Cup. So far, he's been proved correct. He got a lot of criticism for that. He doesn't care. Thomas Tuchel gets on with it how he sees fit, and it's getting the very best out of Jude Bellingham. So I think at the time I could understand. I'm a big Jude Bellingham fan, so don't get me wrong here. This is not me saying, I wanted him out as well. I'm a massive Jude Bellingham fan, always have been, even when people alongside me in the commentary box have been saying, well, his attitude stinks and all this. I don't care. He's that good at football. You have to find a way to get him into the 11. So I think that people need to cut reporters some slack if they have said in the past that Jude Bellingham shouldn't be in the 11, because there was a time when potentially he wasn't probably positive for the 11. So right now, you're never going to leave him out. That's all we know.
I heard you on the Daily today discussing the comments that he made after the game, and for me, it feels like storm in a teacup, but people will latch on to him, seemingly speaking out against his manager, and Thomas Tuchel has been very frank in those post-game press conferences. A lot of us have really enjoyed that fact, but where do you sit on Thomas Tuchel being so kind of pragmatic and frank about the performances, and Jude kind of being like, no, let's get some positivity. Let's build this up ahead of Wednesday.
I think Thomas Tuchel is so smart. He's going to use this to his advantage. What he'll do, if he's got anything about him, which we know he has, he will get both the interviews. He'll play them either to Jude individually or to the whole squad and say, do you see what they're trying to do to us? And he'll use it to galvanise his England players to go forward in this competition. It can only be a positive for me. I think Jude is right to defend his players. I love that togetherness that they've got. You see them celebrating with the fans at the end. It's a real plus for England that there's that connection back between the fans and the players. And I think that Jude wanted to protect that. He wanted to defend his players, even though they didn't play particularly well. And other players, by the way, Faker others interviewed Elliot Anderson, said we weren't at our best. We've got to get better. This is exactly what Thomas Tuchel said. Players aren't stupid. They know it wasn't a great performance. But Jude was right as well. In those conditions, against a side who a lot of England fans underrated before the quarter-final, I think England did well, given that they didn't play particularly well, if you know what I mean. The mentality was there. So I trust Thomas Tuchel to be smart enough to make this work in England's favour. And Jude Bellingham understands he's working with an elite manager in Thomas Tuchel. I think he will listen. And by the time Atlanta comes around on Wednesday in Argentina, I think that'll be smoothed over and it will make England stronger.
Speaking of Tuchel, obviously some of the in-game decisions, tactically speaking, as we praise him for that, what did you feel about the halftime substitutions that he made and also some of the substitutions he made late in the game that proved to be crucial to see this victory out?
Well, I mean, he said afterwards he wasn't happy with Noni Madueke's performance, and how could you be? In the first 20 minutes, he received the ball, went at his fullback in the first couple of minutes, and that was brilliant. That's what we wanted. The delivery into the box was absolutely atrocious, as per with Noni Madueke. He's got to work on that if he wants to be a real top elite footballer, which I think he can be, but I don't think he works hard enough on that final ball, on that final decision. He then got the ball 4 times and went backwards every single time, and I was throwing my arms in the air asking what on earth he was doing, because he was up against a fullback who he's better than. He could easily get the better of him. And then the last time he received the ball in that 20 minutes, he was offside, inexplicably offside. He could see right along the line. That is so poor. I'd have dragged him off there and then. So Thomas Tuchel gave him another 20-odd minutes to save himself. He couldn't. He had to go off. Declan Rice has been ill all week, which we didn't know about. England had covered that up, and probably for positive reasons. He wanted to carry on, said he could carry on, but given the substitution limitations, Thomas Tuchel said, yeah, OK, I'm going to take you off at half-time. So those are the readings on those two. Listen, I think he left it maybe a little late to go full-on Dan Burn defence, but in the end, I'm happy he did that. So I've got no real problem. Some of the substitutions, I understand people were baffled by them, but in the end, we got through and it made sense. So I don't know how people can argue, really.
My belief, and we talked about Erling Haaland, the half an hour before he came off, looking just absolutely shattered, looking like, not being able to sprint. He just looked like he was completely done. I think they took him off because they knew Big Dan Burn was coming. I think it was just a reaction. They saw Dan Burn warming up and they just went, Erling Haaland.
As if the Man City backline didn't do a great job as it was already. Yeah. It treated it like training and being able to shut him down. Big Dan Burn coming in to close it out.
I think Erling Haaland wanted to come off because Dan Burn was coming on. I don't think it was the bench. I think Erling Haaland stuck his hand in the air and said, I can't cope with this big fella, so get me off the pitch because I don't want to get hurt. I think there's another element to the Haaland situation, and it's kind of going under the radar a bit, but he was useless. He was absolutely terrible. And then his dad shows a complete lack of class by making a rude gesture in the stands after England's definite penalty was overturned by VAR. And he's angry, basically, on Twitter. He's like that guy who's just had too much to drink and gets his phone in his hand, goes on Twitter. There's a great bit in Rory McIlroy's in a biography of Rory McIlroy recently, where they tell the story of him having a tough time at a tournament, getting on a plane with his then girlfriend Wozniacki, and he has some red wine, gets his phone out, goes on Twitter. Eventually, he hands his phone back to Wozniacki and says, "Please change my password." This is what Alfie Haaland should have done. Instead of going on Twitter and ranting and raving. He needs to be a role model, Alfie Haaland. He's angry about two things. He's angry that Sorloth refused to pass to Haaland, who would have made it 2-0. That's the biggest problem Norway have got. Never mind your cables in the sky. Never mind England getting decisions. Sorloth refusing to pass to Haaland. Now, they've got to ask themselves why that happened. Is it because Haaland is the big I am now? Is it because he's loved in America and the others don't feel they're getting the credit they deserve? The second thing, Alfie Haaland was upset because his son didn't turn up for the quarter final. But do you know what, Alfie? This happens. I think when you're new to a tournament, you don't understand how to behave at a tournament. And I'm talking about Norway, Haaland Jr. and Haaland Sr. I think that they need to have a long, hard look at themselves and actually just step back, politely applaud England, and come back next time and try and do it better.
But do you think he has any justification, though? Him saying that Norway got robbed, as other Norwegians kind of feel the same way about the ball that hit the wire, and the push, which again I think was the right call, but the nice little embellishment that Elliot Anderson did in the box as well. Do you think there's any justification or validity in the Norwegian frustration that was expressed by Erling Haaland's dad in feeling like they got robbed?
No. Next question. No, listen. I mean, Jed Spence has run into the box. He's allowed to put his legs and run where he wants to run. He runs right in front of Oscar Bob. He's brought down. It's a clear penalty, and the penalty is given. And then out of nowhere, inexplicably, it gets overturned. It's like the ref couldn't wait to overturn it after VAR told him to go to the screen. How on earth were England robbed when that penalty was overturned? The wires in the sky, I mean, do we even know it touched them? No, we don't. And secondly, there's a bit to do before England score. So Norway, how about instead of waving your arms around and crying because you think something happened up in the air, get on with defending. That's what they're angry about, that they didn't defend it. But ultimately, you know what? I honestly think Norway are angry at themselves because they should have won the game. They were the better side. They have let a massive opportunity slip. And I think they're all angry at Sorloth, who refused to pass to Haaland. That's the big thing. They don't want to call him out because they haven't got the courage to do that. They just want to have a go at referees. They want to have a go at England. What they should be doing is asking the question, why wouldn't our inferior striker pass to our goal machine? That's the big question that Norway should be asking.
It's interesting on that penalty decision, and I will have Christina Runkel on at some point in the next couple of days. I want to clear this up because there's this idea of the initiating of contact, right? So what makes no sense to me is Harry Kane goes to clear a ball against Mexico. The Mexican defender gets a foot in there first. Harry Kane kicks him. He's not aiming to kick him. He's aiming to kick the ball. So Harry Kane is the one who initiates the contact. They give a penalty. I know Jed Spence has moved across the player. I know he has gone to protect the ball and therefore he has made the step across. But the defender is the one that initiates the contact. The defender is the one that hits him. So why is one called one way and one called the other? Like, fortunately, neither of them ended up mattering for England getting through to the semi-finals. But I did look at those two occasions and go, we're back to that same question about clarity and about just having some kind of through line on all these decisions making sense together.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you look at the Embolo decision and people don't like it, they think it's protecting Argentina at the World Cup. But the reality is he's flung out a leg inexplicably into an area where he knows it's going to make contact with an Argentina player. And then ultimately the correct decision was made there. That is a massive dive from Embolo, who's 29 years of age, by the way. This isn't a kid we're talking about. He should know better. The difference between that and what Jed Spence did is that Jed Spence has got the ball at his feet and he's running into a position. He's not sticking his leg out trying to initiate contact. He's running into a position. He could easily argue, I ran into that position ahead of Oscar Bob so that I could have a clearer sight for a shot at goal, or to get into a position where I knew I could pass it to a teammate who was free for a shot on goal. Jed Spence, it's definitely a penalty. I mean, once it's given as well, if you don't give it, I get why it wouldn't be given. I'd still say it was a penalty, but I'd understand it. Once you give that, how on earth is it clear and obvious that you've made an error? I think they need to tidy up. I think generally at this World Cup, the officiating has been okay. I think it's been decent enough. It's not got in the way of the good football. But right now, they're starting to make some decisions that are highly questionable, are having an impact on games. But the ball in the sky hitting a wire, come off it. I mean, Norway, please. What you need to do is educate yourself on how to conduct yourself at tournaments. And I'm so happy the rowing is going home.
Oh, come on, Durham. Come on.
They're rowing, Norway rowing home.
There'll be no flipping rowing in New York.
You're making this hate watch very hard, Durham. Like I have been hoping at some point that I could come on this broadcast and sing how they're going home, and now I'm seeing something we haven't seen since 1986, that England in a semi-final. This hate watch is not going well. I must admit, it's just not going well at all.
Yeah, well, you need to get yourself an England shirt for a start, and that would help your situation a lot. Just come and join our country. Come and join me and Will in supporting the Three Lions. Come on, you know it makes sense. You've gone with America. What was the point? You're now sticking a France jersey on. What on earth is wrong with you? Can you even speak
Allez
French?
le bleu! Allez le bleu!
Is that it?
Ça va, oui, ça va.
All right,
Oui,
what's
ça
French
va.
for pathetic?
Pathetic, le pathétique.
But listen, I understand what you're saying. England are doing that to a lot of people. The Scotland fans, it's their longest, most painful World Cup ever. They keep latching onto teams they're hoping will beat England. England put in performances that give them hope, and then England get through. The pain in Scotland.
That's the annoying part. That's the annoying part.
It.
You're getting outplayed. You're getting outplayed. And Will just found out today on this show on July 12th, 2026. he just found out, Durham. He just found out that the world loves to root against England in the World Cup international competitions. For some reason, today was the day he found out that there is a world out there where a lot of people love to hate watch England.
You know that David Mitchell meme, Adrian Durham, of the "Are we the baddies?" I think I had that moment last night. Like after knocking Mexico out, after knocking Norway out, I'm like, oh, we're the bad guys here. Oh God, I didn't realise this.
How on earth? How have you not realised this? Listen, this is historic. And I totally get it as well. This is back to the Empire and England thinking they rule the world. They still sing Rule Britannia. And listen, there's no problem in being proud of your country. We're all proud of our countries. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I think when you hear England fans, singing Rule Britannia, for example, or singing Britain never, ever, ever shall be slaves. I mean, wow, when you look into the context and the meaning of that and the historical meaning of that, I think the lyrics need to change a little bit. But so I understand. And what I'm talking about there is that doesn't mean I'm not proud to be English, because I absolutely am. Anybody who's seen me at England games knows how proud I am to be English. But what it means is I understand why others from other countries have a real problem with England and the historical aspect of it. Plus, they misinterpret the lyrics of Three Lions badly because they don't understand what it means.
They don't get irony. They don't understand irony.
It's so painful to hear people say, "Oh, they think they own football." Absolutely. Whenever I'm going to a tournament, people have said to me, "Oh yeah, all the England fans, they think they're going to win it, don't they? Every time they go there, thinking they're going to win it." No, we don't.
I've never believed that. This is the most I've ever believed we might actually win a tournament. Like, I feel uncomfortable.
I still don't believe, by the way. I still don't believe, but we just don't go there with any confidence whatsoever. Have you seen our football history? How would any England fan be confident and arrogant going to a tournament? People are actually stupid when it comes to this.
But hey, this is why, though. Sorry, Master, but this is why, because in the years that I've been following England, and probably my first proper tournament was Euro 96, because after we didn't make 94, like, that was the last time I remember the stars turning up. Every other tournament, whether it's Wayne Rooney against Portugal, whether it's David Beckham getting sent off against Argentina, whether it's Harry Kane in the last two tournaments clearly carrying whatever health knocks he was and not doing it in the knockout stages. And yet in this tournament, while we're not playing well, Jude Bellingham is turning up. Harry Kane, until last night where he had probably his worst game of the tournament, but had been turning up. And that's why I suddenly do feel different. I'm like, oh, hold on. Not only do we have superstar players who we know are superstars, they're actually arriving at this tournament and playing like those superstars, and that's why I'm starting to get a little bit positive about winning it.
Look at how we might just win. We just might win.
He doesn't want to say it out loud, doesn't he?
He doesn't. He doesn't.
I liken it to, I compare it to England's women winning the Euros last summer, and Serena Wiegmann was talking about proper England, and I mentioned this on the show after the Mexico game, that it was proper England. Now, what we mean by that is we know and this is the reality with England, Master. This is the very opposite of what the outside world thinks of England. What England fans know is we're not playing well. We really aren't the best. Some of our players were highly questionable in terms of should they even be at the World Cup. However, somehow they're finding a way to win. If you look at the Women's Euros last summer in Switzerland, England were absolutely dreadful for a lot of the tournament.
Smash and grab, all knockouts. I could not believe that they kept getting away with the Italy match in particular. I could not believe that they found a way to get away and win that one.
It was the Sweden one for me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not even joking when I say our producer was booking flights home from the Euros towards the end of that game. And I mean, we were knocked out by Sweden maybe about 5 times if you include the penalty shootout, and somehow we got through. Somehow we beat Spain in the final. I can see comparisons here, and I think that maybe Thomas Tuchel has learned a little bit from Serena Wiegmann. He was already elite, we know that, but I think in terms of the attitude, in terms of keeping a cool head and being so focused when you're picking players that some of the fans wouldn't pick, some of the journalists would question, I think he's got that steely focus, that tunnel vision. And I'm kind of confident in a way that we won't go down without a fight for a start. We might play badly, but we at least won't go down without a fight. This won't be a pathetic limping out at the semi-final stage. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen who Argentina have played at this World Cup, but this is their first game at this World Cup. Jordan, Algeria, Austria, Cape Verde, Egypt, Switzerland. Now, Switzerland are top 10. Egypt have got some qualities. Sorry, Switzerland, I think, are 15th in the world. Egypt have got some qualities. Mm-hmm. We know this, but they've only scraped past those two, and they had to reduce Switzerland to 10 men as well. So I'm looking at Argentina thinking, well, they're all happy they're in the semi-final. The only way I think that Argentina can beat England is through housery, and they are very good at that.
Adrian, you've been wonderful as always. We've kept you super long. Just so you know, that incident at the Euros last summer was no different this year. When at 1-0 down against Congo as we hit half-time, your producer there, Declan McCarthy, and Keelan Cosgrove, who is the producer of Faye, were both contacting our World Cup editor to discuss what the plans will be now England are out. Well, obviously, we're not going to go to Mexico to do Congo against Mexico, so where should our next stadium be? Those are the conversations they were having at half-time of that game. That's how little belief England fans have in England. And yet here we are, semi-finalists, baby.
I'm all for planning, but come on, guys. Let's stay positive. Let's stay positive until you're absolutely out. And do you know what? England are still in there, in with a chance. Come on, you 3 Lions. Come on. Eat it, Master. Eat it.
I'm eating a lot of beans on toast right now. Unfortunately, it's not fun. It's not fun. But I'm happy for you guys. I'm thrilled for you guys.
You're
despite
really
my
not.
hatred. I'm not. I'm really not. You didn't let me finish with the prepositional phrase at the end. Despite my hatred, that was coming. That was coming.
Adrian, love you greatly. Enjoy Miami, and we'll hear from you in Atlanta in a couple of days' time. Cannot wait. Thank you so much. The wonderful Adrian Durham joining us on the S Word here on talkSPORT. He's an absolute hero. We went about 10 minutes long on that segment, so we
absolutely did.
I don't know what we're doing next. We're just going to talk about the semi-finals, I think. It's been a wonderful show. We'll get some of your comments as well. So thank you so much for joining us here on the S Word, sponsored by Calci, and we look forward to the semi-finals next.
The S Word with Will Gavin and Master Tesfatsion from talkSPORT. S Word. Get your full-on football fix from across the football galaxy. The S Word from talkSPORT.
In the last 10 minutes of the S Word, sponsored by Calci, I'm Will Gavin here in London. Master Tesfatsion live from Los Angeles.
More like 6 minutes.
Listen, I'm good with that. We are very much hydration break has happened. We are in extra time. We are just eking this one out, seeing it off to the end. I think
6 minutes of stoppages on the board here right now, and Dan Burns coming in. Dan Burns coming in.
Who's Dan Burn in this situation, you or I?
I think we know the answer to that one.
Yeah,
I think I'm Jed Spence, even though I am not that fast.
Jed Spence, by the way, we didn't really talk about this. He's England's best one-on-one defender, and we've been saying it a little bit throughout the tournament. Every time he comes off the bench, he's been sensational. Like, use him in that way. You don't have to start him. If Reece James is fit, fine, great, start him. But
and Reece James also coming off the bench, he had some. Defensively, for someone who's comes off a bad hammy, it seems like every other couple weeks. I thought he did a solid job coming in as well.
I agree. Let's get to some of the comments because they are absolutely racking up.
Our producer Sam is saying, "What, this is the most watched live show we've ever had? Is that? Can we confirm this?
Apparently,
do I need to root for England now?
We've had. Oh yeah, I think. I get up in the chat, get in the comments, tell us why Master should root for England. Of course, one of the first responses, of course, the Yankees glory hunting. That's what BFC 10 says.
Hey, listen, Hey, allez le bleu. Allez le bleu. Allez
le bleu. Arsenal Avenger Champion says Mexico tick, Norway tick, Argentina ... The little like sun time emoji. You're just saying it's going to be a tick as well. Fair point from Justin saying all the teams left so far have played inferior teams in the last round, so it's game on now. And it's true. I looked at the quarterfinals as we got into it, and actually after Morocco were a little disappointing against France on Thursday, and I did look at the rest of the games and thought to myself, are we about to be in for a really poor round? Because as much as we've had some wonderful stories in this World Cup, and Norway have been one of those, and the Cape Verdes and the brilliant performance of the African nations and everything that we've had going on, it did look like we had some lopsided games. England-Norway definitely looked like the most even game on paper, and actually turned out to be a pretty good weekend of football.
I'm not going to lie to you. That was a big reason. I was like, I think I'm going to rest in the quarterfinals. I'll be here in L.A. and I saw the matchups and the heat and humidity in Miami and Kansas City. I'm like, let me. It's 79 degrees in L.A. Let me enjoy the nice weather for once in the summer. But honestly, every matchup, even France-Morocco, as dominant as France may have been against Morocco, was nervy at times. And Morocco did challenge them and try to operate in the same way that Paraguay did. But Spain-Belgium coming down to Mikel Merino, game winner at the last minute. And then 2 games going to extras yesterday where we got blessed with 240 minutes of football to decide who's going to make it to the semifinal. And again, as much as I was having a great time, hate watching yesterday, to have a semifinal in this country with the momentum that we've had, the interest that we've had, to have a semifinal with England versus Argentina and France versus Spain, you couldn't have asked for a better scenario other than the fact that these matches are happening at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday and Wednesday for the host nations. That is an abomination, and you want to talk about how we continue to cater to Europeans and their time zones and not being mindful of the fact that Canada, Mexico, and the United States has done a tremendous job hosting this World Cup, and most of them, unfortunately, will have to be at work watching this or taking time off because it is in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, at 3 p.m. Eastern time, noon Pacific time. Just a ridiculous time slot where if this was on prime time, Will, we're talking potentially 50, 60 million people watching this in the United States alone. Now, who knows? I'm not exactly sure this is going to eclipse the USA-Belgium over 50 million viewership rating that we got from that number, but who knows? Maybe America will surprise me as they did yesterday with all the bars and pubs that were still packed, despite the fact that USA and Mexico are out. But the time slot for this is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I hear you. And yes, it would be lovely to break more records on Fox and on Telemundo and everywhere else. But
particularly Fox. Shout out to Fox.
3 of the top 4 teams.
Got love for Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 of the 4 top teams in the world are European. They've all made it through to the semi-final stages. The games are going to be at 8 p.m. BST, 9 p.m. Central Europe time. And so I totally back it. This is the point. That is your biggest market. This will be watched by the World Cup final will be watched by nearly 2 billion people worldwide, most likely. The World Cup semi-finals will likely hit 500 million to 1 billion views. And most of those are going to come from outside America. Like, I totally understand what you're saying. I get your point, but you've got to cater to the markets where the teams are going to be, and the likelihood was that America wasn't going to put a team at this point. That actually, other than Argentina, where are the other South American teams getting to this point? So, you know...
There's under 59 million people in England when we had 50 million people watching USA-Belgium in a final potentially that could reach 70 to 80 million people.
What time are you hoping for these games to be?
It should have been in prime time. And guess what? You guys have to get up at 4 a.m. and keep the bars open, and Keith Starmer can get another, applause on the way out the door as you guys look like you guys are having fun, waiting till 3 a.m. to watch your matches. Guess what? So be it. We have to do that here with Premier League and all the other domestic leagues. It's an inconvenience, but how much do you love the sport? Okay, everything gets catered to you in this kind of way. Deal with the reality. You want to keep growing the sport. You want to show the host nations that they did a tremendous job. Give them a primetime slot. Let them enjoy this in primetime on a Tuesday and Wednesday instead of having to, skip work or having to, have somebody babysit the kids so they can watch this. It's ridiculous.
I have interest. Like, would 2 hours later, like if it was 5 p.m. Eastern, like is that going to make a difference to you, or are you saying it has to be like Monday Night Football type slot?
Put it on prime time. Put it on prime time.
2 a.m. in Europe. Like,
yes.
Like knowing that France and Spain are likely to get the stage, knowing that England are likely to get to the stage, you can't be putting those games at 2 a.m. in Europe. That's FIFA shooting themselves in their foot. That is cutting your nose off to spite your face. That's saying, yeah, we want to give America all the love. They deserve it for hosting a great tournament. But let's be honest, this is our bread and butter. This is the place that brings us the most viewers right now. Plus, you hit the Asian market, you hit the African market, all as well. Like, it's not all about you, mate. It's not all about you.
Considering we changed the time zone for you, it's not all about you, Will.
Well, it turns out it is, because we're in the semi-finals and you guys aren't. I'm Will Gavin, and it's all me all the time. You know it, brother.
We end the show we started the show with European centralism, and now we are centered around Europe, and we will end it with Europe. What a great show we had.
Great show. Thank you so much, Master. Thank you to everyone who got involved. Tomorrow we'll be back with myself and Max Scott. Christina Uncle will join us. We've got some great guests lined up over the coming days. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, semi-finals of the World Cup. Stick with us here on the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi. Yeehaw.
Bringing all the biggest football debates stateside. The S Word from talkSPORT.